Hey everyone, this is Jennifer Beamer, owner-operator of Exploited Art by Science, and this is part 2 of the video series with Navajo Plying. And here is my sample all spun up here. Now, I know that some of you are going to be like, what? You're not going to do it with a drop spindle? I tried 2 times to make a really good video with the drop spindle showing you how it works, but it's because I don't have a professional camera crew, it's really hard to get a good angle and one such that you can really see what it is that I'm doing. And the third time I tried, I just went ahead and made part of the video, and it was absolutely terrible. So I'm going to do it with my spinning wheel, but a lot of these things are like a direct translation between tools. So if you have a spinning wheel, you know, this part is really easy for you because you can just follow it step by step. If you have a drop spindle, it's going to be a little bit with, you know, working the hands just right to make sure that everything is flowing the way that is comfortable for you. But even with the video, some of these things you're going to have personal desires for like where you're going to put it and etc. So it's just easier for me to show you what I'm talking about with my spinning wheel. That way I get a really good angle. I'm not like fussing around with the angle of my hands to make sure you guys can see it. Alright, and now we are all set up with the wheel here. I have a new bobbin on the wheel, or if you are using a drop spindle, you'll have a fresh drop spindle over here, either the one that you used for the spinning or a special one that you use for plying. Usually when you ply yarn, you'll need a slightly heavier drop spindle, so some people will have two, one for spinning singles and the other one for plying. And I have down here on my Lazy Kate, I have the yarn that we're going to use to make the 3-ply. And my leader here is a loop. And I like using this loop because I can just hook the fiber through, and the end here will kind of spin on itself if I'm making a single, or if I'm plying yarn, you know, a 2-ply, I will take the 2 pieces, put them through here and tie it in just an overhand knot. That way it won't come off the leader when I'm starting to spin. So the setup for this is probably the trickiest part, and the same rule applies for whenever I use a drop spindle. So if you're using a drop spindle, you'll be able to do this exact same thing that I'm describing here. So I have my single, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull it through, and instead of tying it up here at the top, let's see if I can get this a little bit closer to the orifice. So I'm going to pull this through, and instead of tying it up here for this, let's see if I can show you a little better. Instead of tying it up here at the top, I'm going to make another loop down here at the bottom. Okay, so I'm going to do that by just tying an overhand knot. Do you see that? I made another loop by tying there once, and then I'm going to tie it again to make a square knot. So it's right over left, left over right to make a square knot. Okay, so you see how I have my leader loop here, the green one, and the brown one here is a new loop. This is what I'm going to do or use to pull the new yarn through the bottom. Right? Show you with my left hand. I'm going to use this loop to pull this through so that I can have a new loop. Now remember in the first video when we were making loops and pulling it tight, we're not going to pull it tight, we're just going to incorporate the twist. Alright, to get started, usually what I do is I'll pull the first loop through like this, and then I'll just grab the piece with my 2 middle fingers, or well, my middle finger and my thumb. Okay, but otherwise this loop is nice and spread out. And then I'll just hold this until I can get, oh, really far away, until I can get some twist incorporated. Now, you will have already set up the tension on here, you know, doing the practice with the leader back and forth to make sure the uptake is fine. But if you need to make any adjustments, go right ahead. So you can see that it's already forming a 3-ply here at the top. I'm gonna just hand crank this on a little bit. Right. So starting here at this little bump, this is the 3-ply happening. I spun this yarn as a single with enough twist to make a nice sturdy 2-ply, and the way that you can tell is when I ply it on itself. You can see it's soft, it's not too loose, it's not going to fall apart, and whenever you ply, you need to have enough twist to ply it such that it stays together nicely like this. With a 2-ply, you need more twist, more extra twist in the single than you would for just a single ply. If you were doing a 3-ply, you're going to end up needing a little bit less extra twist than you would for a 2-ply. But if you're still, you know, learning, this is okay to have enough twist for a 2-ply. You'll just have a 3-ply that's a little bit maybe firmer and a little bit more twisty than the 2-ply, but otherwise you're going to turn out with really great yarn. The other thing that I did is I spun the single such that this is how it would look if you were a beginner. So if you're just starting out, you're making yarn, you want to try this out, you definitely can. And I will show you in the end what the yarn is going to look like. So I've got this here, right? And then I'm going to pull it through and grab the middle piece again. And I have my twist. This thing is got stuck. I need to really trim off the extra from my leader because it keeps getting stuck on the first hook. Alright, so I'm just going to reach through, grab this again. You notice how I'm pinching this off here? If I don't, I will have a very hard time pulling the next segment through this opening because the opening will close. And I'm getting into the purple yarn here. You can kind of see the purple in the one of the plies right here. Let's see if I can get this to focus a little better. Alright. There we are. So you can see how there's this purple one and then the 2 brown ones. That's because the 2 legs of the loop were brown and the one that I pulled through is purple. So this is how it would look if you used 2 different colors. Okay? Let's refocus and then keep going. Whoops. Right, and now I have this section here that's just purple. You can see this from here to here is all purple. If you are making a yarn that has multiple colors, let's say you have a hand-dyed top that has 6 colors, what you could do is when you make these loops, you can make them longer or shorter depending on the color that you're dealing with. And you could have a yarn that is reflective of those color changes. So if you want to keep the yellow with the yellow or the purple with the purple, you can do that with this method. So you can see right here I'm switching back to the brown. And I'm really not consciously trying to keep the colors together, I'm just trying to show you how to do this method by doing short sections. Normally when I would do this, I would probably pull it back about 36 inches or about a yard, and then I would add the twist into it to make the 3-ply so that I have the transitions in longer increments rather than shorter ones. But like I said, if you have a situation where you want to keep color blocks together. Doing smaller increments like this is actually better for that. Alright, and then one more time, I'll just show you. So this is the loop from before. I'm going to reach through with my hand and I'm going to grab this. The whole time I have this part pinched off at the top to prevent the twist from going into it. Because if I let go, right, I can't easily pull this next piece through as much, which you really can't see because it's off camera. So you want to keep the twist pinched off when you're pulling through the next section. Okay, it'll make it oodles easier if you keep that pinched. And what I do is I just smooth my fingers down over that crochet loop that forms, because I don't want any yarn to get bunched up here at this intersection. So that's just a personal thing. You don't have to do that. But if you do, that's why I do it. Okay? And you can already see how much texture is being formed by doing this 3-ply. So the parts that are a little bit fatter than others are going to make these nice poofy sections, and up here you can see how it goes from thick to thin to thick again. This is just like a beginner's yarn. I didn't do anything special. All I did was pre-draft the fiber a little bit and then I spun it rather quickly because that's my method for making beginner yarn. It's just how I do it. Beginners, you can go as fast or as slow as you need to. Focus this again. So you can see this one had 2 purple legs of the loop, and it had the brown one that I pulled through. See, this is the brown one down here that I'm pulling through, and this is how the yarn looks when I'm done. So if you are new and doing a yarn like this, this is about what it's going to look like as the finished yarn. If you're doing this with a drop spindle, everything that I'm saying will still apply. Oh, I need to refocus it, otherwise you can't see what I'm doing. So yeah, if you're using a drop spindle for this right now, instead of a spinning wheel, you will still apply these same principles. I still smooth out the chain loop here. I still do that part. Usually what I have to do is I'll spin it, I'll like rotate the drop spindle, and then I use both of my hands for this part, and the ball of yarn is either on a table or in a cup, or something that's going to keep it from rolling around a lot. And I still get yarn that turns out just as nice as this. I do highly recommend you getting a drop spindle for like plying specifically, because if you don't, you're going to spend a lot of time getting more twist into, or you'll be spinning the spindle to get more twist into it so that you can keep the spindle going for longer. A heavier spindle will do that naturally. It's physics, guys. Any physics majors out there? Alright. And then as you get better, you can do this faster. You don't have to like hand crank it on all the time like I have been. Also, the smaller sections that you go in at first, the easier it will be for you to control the extra kink that happens. Like this right here, this kink. If I make a really, really long loop, that kink is going to multiply. There's going to be several down the length of your single, and you'll have a hard time with the plying part because the kinks are going to get stuck on the loop, and then you'll have to stop and fix it, and it can be a really big mess. Now, if you are going to be doing other things in the middle of this, let's say you're cooking dinner and you just want to get this plied while something is cooking, and you only have to check on it like once every 30 minutes or so, what I like to do is I also have a babe wheel, and the babe wheel has a piece of Velcro on the front. So what I would do is I would just keep these 3 pieces like this, and I would just Velcro it to the wheel. I know it sounds weird, but it's so useful. It's like a second pair of, or yeah, like a second pair of hands. If you're going to be walking away from this, what I've done with my wheel, because I have this piece that sticks out, I'll just put this around here like that, and then I can go do what I'm doing. If, like, basically I just want to say, you don't want this to just let go. Like, you don't want this to let go, because if you're dealing with really fine yarn, this is going to be a mess by the time you get back to it again. Something will have moved, or the kids will have gotten into it, or the dog got really curious and came over, and you know, maybe you'll have to cut a section out and restart it because it's all just a knot. So if you're going to be doing something else while you're doing this, those are 2 ways that I use to sort of put this down for a second to do something. Alright, so pinch, pull the middle piece through, and I just go ahead and start grabbing this piece down here before I've started to do the plying part. Oh, and look, see? You see what happened just there? I'm actually kind of glad it happened. That little purple bump right here, that is a piece of the yarn that wasn't smoothed all the way. So I'm going to undo the twist. I just gave it a small little tug, and then we'll let the twist back through, and then you can see there's no more purple bump. Yay! Alright, and normally I would be paying attention instead of chatting. I made it to the end, so this is the leader from my net, from the bobbin that I had down here, so this is empty. So what I would do is I would just get here to the end of the leader with the 3-ply. I would cut this off, and then just because I'm a little bit crazy, or maybe it's just normal, I don't know, I always take the ends of any plied yarn and I make a small knot. So you know, like drawstring hoodies, sometimes people will put a knot at the end of the drawstring so that the drawstring doesn't get stuck into the hoodie. Well, I kind of do that on the ends of these. So when I get to the skein part and I take this off, this end will be tied, and when I get to the other end that I started with, I'll cut off the part that's the start of the 3-ply, and I'll do the same thing there, and I'll have both ends be this tied end, and then this part you know, will just be wrapped around the niddy-noddy like normal. So hopefully this answered a lot of your questions about how to do Navajo plying, and hopefully you were really able to see how this is made. And I will give you a last up close look of the yarn, with it being really focused instead of fuzzy. Alright. So there's the yarn. Let me grab a colored piece, or a mixed piece. So you can see. And this is about as much twist as you want it to have. You probably don't want much more than this, or else the yarn will get really hard. And this is actually a really sturdy yarn. But I love the texture it forms. And it's so great to be a beginner and be able to make yarn that looks this good. I'm not even like trying to say, oh, I'm a great spinner. It happens, and it's beautiful when it happens. All right, so if you have any questions, just let me know. You can find me on Facebook and Twitter. You can also send me an email, which I'll have that below. And if you have any other suggestions for future videos or tutorials, please let me know. And if you like this video, give me a thumbs up and subscribe. Bye!